I'm glad I'm in Melbourne. I really am glad I am in Melbourne, although yesterday was a bit of a surprise, I have to say. I got off the plane, I want to say boat, but I got off the plane and I was taken to a field and I was shot in the head. I was shot in the head by Ben Shewry, who was pretending to be on my side as we played paintball. I've never played paintball before, ladies and gentlemen, and I walked onto the wrong side and was shot in the head by my host, Ben Shewry, without any mercy whatsoever. But when I came to after being shot in the head, it gave me pause to think about what's important. Because this whole WAW thing today is about what is important, and we were given great liberty as to what to say, and I think as you go through or listen to the various people who are in their separate groups throughout the day, there'll be people with so many differing points of view. So I was shot in the head yesterday and it made me think about what was important because, of course, parts of your life flash through your head, and parts of my life were, seemed to be always engaged with food, or the cooking of food, or thinking about food. And it brought a tear to my eyes, really, when I thought about that, thinking how much of my life has been involved in that. But it also made me rather grateful too, or rather, at least, pensive. And let me tell you why. Started off as a young cook, of course, and like any young cook, there was an insistent urge to be creative and to do what I wished, to do what I believed had integrity when it came to a recipe. At all costs. At all costs, including being an insistent bastard, yelling or shouting or demanding because simply the price of success or the price of doing it right was worth the cost of getting there. I probably would have shot some of my cooks in the head. In fact, I think I did once or twice. As I was going through Darley Street, Thai, and other places in Australia, which I had eons ago. And it was very important to go through that urgent questing stage, really, I suppose, where it was the seeking of trying to find out how to do something proper within the context of a cook or within the context of a recipe, where everything had to be done properly. But that's changed a bit now, I have to say. For me, it's changed quite tremendously because as I've gotten older, and several people have tried to assassinate me in various countries, I've started to realise what is far more important. And it ain't just about cooking. It ain't just about the urgent quest of a chef to try and get that recipe right. It's about due consideration. I now live in Thailand, and it has been a part of my life for 20-odd years, no longer 30 years, really. And I found I've become increasingly seduced and have succumbed to many aspects of its culture. I don't pretend I'm Thai, I don't pretend any of that type of crap, but I do actually start to subscribe to some of their understandings and approaches to the way of action, by which I mean Buddhism. As I've gotten older, as I've started to settle into Thailand, the things that start to become important to me are getting it right with that same insistent urge of an earlier incarnation of a cook that must cook properly, but to do it with a process or in a way that doesn't alienate, that includes, say, other cooks, that includes other conditions. For instance, at Nahm in Bangkok now, we're starting to subscribe to some ideas called eco-Buddhism, where we try and find the best ingredients, but also try to make sure that they're grown properly. So far, it's consistent with what's happening in the West with organics and slow food and so on. But here it resonates more deeply in Thailand. It resonates more deeply to the Thai soul because, you see, the reason why we're approaching it using eco-Buddhism is because it is something that includes a belief, a feeling that's held so dearly to the Thais, their religion, their Buddhism. And so what we do is we try to find ingredients. We try to find fish and meats and so on that are reared, harvested or grown in a way that has little impact to the environment, as little as possible. But not because we're just being organic, but because we want to uphold certain principles that is fundamental to Buddhism. And this is the thing that is for me an interesting development, because before I arrived in Thailand, I was merely just a cook who was cooking that just had one idea in his head, just one idea. And it was to cook to get it right. But as I settled into Thailand, as I started to move into the culture, or at least start to work within the culture, there were elements that I thought completely irrelevant that started to become more and more important. One's connection to the environment, one's connection to culture, one's connection to other people, where it's not so important to get, say, recipes right, but it's more important to ensure that people share the same values that then can lead to a development. There's a consensus in Thailand and in Thai culture, and I think in modern practice too, where no longer is there the how can I put it? Where no longer should one just arrogantly insist, irregardless of its effect upon others or the environment, to get things done. But rather where there is a sense of a collegiate, consensual response that's shared together in the environment, in the kitchen, and when cooking. I guess what I'm trying to say is that as you start to go through your travels, as I have done, from Sydney to London to Bangkok, things change. Points of importance change, one's priorities change. From being a mere chef, a mere cook rather, in Sydney, to being a little bit of an entrepreneur in London, to now being settled in Bangkok, what is important has changed dramatically. And now what's important, and what's I think of significance for me at my stage, is the importance of looking after the staff, the environment, and others, often to the exclusion of oneself. So very different from when I started off. So very different from perhaps some of you, but as you get older, you start to realise that other things are more important than oneself. And as I was contemplating that, that's when Ben shot me in the head. Because he realised I was being preposterous and rambling on for too much. And so I think before he shoots me one more time, I'll get off the stage. Thank you.